Hey everybody, I'm at my piano here today. I'm just getting ready for some lessons this afternoon, and I thought, you know what, I'll make a quick video about pedalling, because it's a question that comes up very, very often. What are all these different terms? How do I actually pedal? What's the difference between direct pedaling and legato pedaling? How do I manage it? What's half damping? What's half pedaling? Are they the same thing? I decided I'm going to just throw together a quick video, just going through the basics of pedaling, get you started, and you can start to use it in your music. It makes a big difference to your playing. So let's jump in. Let's begin by identifying what the three pedals are and what they do. So on this piano, which is an upright, I've got three pedals. Not every upright has three pedals. This one does. All grand pianos have three pedals, but the middle pedal has a different function on a grand piano than it does when it appears in an upright piano. But let's go through them anyway. So our first pedal, the one you use most often, this is your damper pedal, also known as the sustain pedal, and it's the one that you're probably most familiar with. That gives that nice that resonant sound. The dampers have come off the strings and they're ringing out until I let go, and then the dampers pop back onto the strings and stop the sound. The other pedal that every piano has is the una corda. On an upright piano, you won't see anything happen when you push this pedal down. On a grand piano, you'll see the keyboard move very, very slightly to the right, about a quarter of an inch less, actually, just fractionally. And what's happening is that the mechanism is shifting across, so that the hammer coming up is no longer striking two strings for each note, but rather just striking one. So it gives a slightly softened sound. So then the pedal in the middle, on an upright piano, as you can see, I can move this down and across slightly and it holds in position. And let me play a couple of notes first of all without it, the practice pedal down. Quite a loud sound, and then when I put it on, it softens and muffles that sound so that I can practice without causing too much disturbance to my neighbours. On a grand piano, this is much more likely to be a sostenuto pedal. So that word sostenuto, very similar to sustain, it is the same idea. And the way it works is that when you use the sostenuto pedal on a grand piano, it's going to sustain only the note that was down when you put the pedal down. So what this means is that if I have a note, for example, in the bass, or a series of notes in the bass that I want to hold down, I'm going to pretend that just for the sake of getting that sound, I'm going to pretend this is my sostenuto pedal. So those notes are held, and they continue to be held even though the notes that I play afterwards will not be held. So if I play these two notes, and then I put down my sostenuto pedal, those notes will be held even when I let go of them, but notes that I play after that will not be held. It's something you'll only find in music written after 1900 or even later than that, because that's when that pedal was developed. So you won't find it in classical or romantic era music or anything before that. And even so, it's not very often used, but that's what it does in any case. So now let's look at how best to position your foot to be able to use the most commonly used pedal, which is our damper pedal. So the temptation often is to hold your foot at an angle and then come up and down on it as you need it, and to have your foot covering the entire pedal, but this isn't the most efficient way to use it. You're much better off bringing your foot back, angling it slightly so that you're just tapping the very edge of the pedal with either your big toe or the ball of your foot. And that allows you to feel that pedal with more sensitivity. So you'll notice the difference. If your entire foot is covering it, it'll feel from top to bottom like you have a certain amount of pedal. But when you bring your foot out, it'll feel like you have more pedal. You can feel the gradations along the way much better. And also, you're better able to kind of rest your foot there as well, rather than having it held up, as you're here to stay off it. And you're better able to move up and down on the pedal without making that clunky sound. So as you experiment with playing a note at different points, so I've got my foot at the very top of the pedal, and you'll notice there's no resonance there, but as I come down slightly, it's starting to kick in, and there it is. So I'm about halfway down, and that's where the resonance begins, and as I go deeper into it, I get more resonance. So that allows me to experiment and see, how much do I want to have the pedal down in a particular piece of music to give the effect that I want. And it's going to change from piece to piece. So something, for example, by Mozart is not going to require that really deep resonance that you might want in a piece by Chopin, for example, or by Beethoven. So you'll be looking at much lighter pedaling in a piece from the classical era as opposed to a piece from the romantic era. So it's worthwhile experimenting with your own pedal, because every piano is going to feel different, every pedal is going to feel different. So getting used to the different action on your pedal and how it sounds at different degrees of depression of the pedal. So while we're looking at the pedal, let me demonstrate how we typically use the sustain pedal in a piece of music. So I'm just going to play a scale of C. I'm just going to use one finger, and I'm just going from C to C, and I'm going to keep the pedal down all the way. So that now is quite a mess of music. We don't want that. We want to differentiate the different notes, but we want to maintain that resonance. So what I'm going to do is I've got my pedal down, I'm playing my first note, and now I'm going to move to my second note, and I'm going to play that note, and then I'm coming up and down on the pedal. Up, down. Note first, up, down. Note, up, down. Thank you, Daisy. And so each time I go up and down on the pedal, it clears the note previously, but it maintains the legato feel between the notes. That is the sequence of events. It's note first, you're changing your note or your chord, and then the pedal comes up and down on it while you're still holding that note. So if I do it with chords, it's my first chord, second chord. I'm still holding this chord and I'm going up and down while I'm holding it. Move to the next chord, up, down, still holding the chord, next chord, etc. So it's within that note or within that chord that we go up and down with our foot on the pedal, and that allows us to control it and not have that sort of jerky feel where you maybe come off too soon or too early on the pedal. You come up and down too early on the pedal and it cuts off your legato. Okay. Alright, Daisy. Okay, so you may also hear expressions like half damping and half pedaling, and wonder what those mean. So they're not quite the same thing. Half damping refers to when you have the pedal fully down and you're bringing it up slightly to clear a sound. So for example, if I want to play the opening chord of Beethoven's Pathétique, we're going to have the pedal fully down because we want a really loud resonant sound on that. But then I might want to lift the damper slightly, so I'm half damping, just to allow myself to move into the sort of slightly quieter next section. So that would be an example of half damping, whereas if I'm half pedaling, I'm going from the top down. So I'm controlling the amount of resonance that I want in a piece of music. So for example, if I'm playing some Mozart, I don't want a fully resonant pedal. If that's too much for that style of music. So I'm just going to go down just to where the resonance begins. So just have a very light damper effect on those notes. So that's half damping versus half pedaling. You've probably also come across the terms direct pedaling and legato pedaling. So earlier on I demonstrated legato pedaling, but direct pedaling is a little bit different. It's much simpler actually. So here's an example here, and this is a piece by Kabalevsky. And you can see that we have a pedal marking, just goes across to here, and then we lift and then down and up again. So this is just a dab of pedal in particular areas just to bring out the resonance that the composer wants. Sorry, now the camera's a bit shaky here. So what that will sound like is just down on the pedal goes down at the same time as the first notes, stays down, and then comes off. Down, up, down, up, down, as opposed to the indication for legato pedaling. This is a piece by Chopin. So you can see here we've got our pedal marking, a chord, and basically as we're changing the harmony as we move through the piece, our pedal is going up and down to clear the previous harmony and allow the resonance in the next harmony. So you have pedal, and this little snowflake or asterisk is telling you where to come up and down. It's not as precise as I'm going to let go here and I'm going to pedal down again here. As we talked about earlier, it's really within the space of one note in order to avoid that cutting off effect that we don't want. So it's not a very precise way of marking pedaling, but it gives the idea of pedaling once or twice per bar as the harmony changes. There you go, short and sweet. Hope you get some benefit out of that. Start putting it into practice. Experiment. It's always about experimentation. Let your ears guide you. You know what sounds best to you, and you know how your piano is going to sound different to my piano, and it's really just all about getting to know your pedal. It's a bit like driving a car actually as well. At the beginning you have to think about everything really carefully, but as you use it, as you get used to it, it'll start to become more automatic, and you can really use it to great effect then in your music. So have fun with that, and till I see you again, happy practicing.